and see, you know, whether or not Chicken Sandwich can go back to back.
Fantastic start from them. Can they make it even better? I guess we'll have to see. They seem to have worked out any issues they had. You know, landing at Command Center. I can't remember if it was them or it was a different Command Center team. Because if you look at the map here, some teams had been landing in that sort of north compound, but you can actually see Busose from Dugu Play landing up there. So Dugu Play, they're not going to contest again. They're actually going up to High Point this time.
I recall, at least in week 1, Chicken Sandwich were not happy with a team dropping at that beacon building. And I think that was like the discussion, obviously, because this is a building which spawns a beacon. Both the teams that drop in Command Center and like even those ones up towards High Point, Thunderwatch, whatever, they're all like looking at that building and saying this is probably a building that we'd like to sort of take early on in the game.
Yeah. And it does depend on where beacons spawn northerly as well, right? So Dugu Play, who are landing at High Point right now, they actually have a beacon to their west. So they don't really need that beacon. They're more there for the looting path, because obviously High Point, you know, not one of the most loot-heavy POIs you can get. They're really just trying to max out the armaments that they walk away from that with. But, I mean, there was a moment there where Strafing Flame and Busose were actually pretty close to each other. But don't come to blows this time. So, you know, I'm going to keep my eye on that just to see, you know, whether those beacon spawns can change things, whether those guys and their timing changes depending on where they have to rotate there, and try and get that information, because it will be interesting if those guys start coming to blows early on again.
I would like to think that that would be a bit of a gentleman's agreement where it's like, all right, well, I'm expecting you're going to drop on the beacon, you take the beacon and then move on, and then I move over, and that sort of seems like what has occurred there. Like Busose was there early, Strafing Flame came across after, you know, doing a little bit of looting, and then picked up the beacon. I'm not sure whether there obviously is anything there to that, or if it was just a case of timing, but
yeah,
I think for both teams, you'd almost prefer it to be exactly the way that it has played out there, rather than Strafing Flame running into Busose, or Busose sticking around too long and Strafing Flame then going to the beacon. And, you know,
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but you got to think about like Ghost Town on World's Edge as well, right? Because the same thing happens there, where you've got teams from Geyser, sometimes teams from Fragment East, and sometimes teams from Overlook fighting over that mid-map beacon that is in Ghost Town if they don't get their own ones spawning. And, you know, sometimes they'll, you know, you're watching those dive trails and occasionally you just have a team being like, oh, someone else is landing here on the beacon. Hey guys, let's just 2 or 3 man this guy. The other one can loot up and we'll keep going. But anyway, theory crafting aside, we're getting into some more action here in game 2. And you can see Northside Esports starting to take up positions here. We're getting into that sort of, you know, mill IMC area. So they're like the budget mill area towards the east of mill. That is where the ring has pulled. Prowler Island is in at the moment. So you can see him starting to set up towards there, but actually quite a few slow rotations. We've still got a good maybe sort of 6 to 8 teams completely outside even the first ring.
Well, Riddance copying a couple of shots from Team Up, and that was an engagement that we actually saw early on in the last game as well. We know one thing about this Team Up roster is that they are not going to shy away from a fight. They're going to chase you as well across half the map if they really feel like it. So I'm not too surprised to see Good Riddance on the map that I'm watching just trying to back off a little bit. They've sort of more or less made their way into Barometer now, and Team Up are quite far away from them at this point. No early shenanigans this time around.
Yep, happy to just craft up. Interesting that they do seem to be following very similar rotational paths. Even from game 1 to game 2, different circles, but similar paths they follow there. Overlook of Truth Esports here. You can see they're all set up in the IMC that we were... Actually, no, sorry, this isn't the IMC that we were talking about. This is a different one. This is the one up near the wall. Obviously, they're all looking pretty same. It's pretty similar from the inside. So, Truth, who I think land up near North Pad, if I'm not wrong. have gone to take the IMC, so they're not prioritizing early position. Someone like GQ, though, moving down to the IMC that we were talking about. It's Dewa on the inside of that one, and you can see other buildings north side. GQ have taken up some of those. The big market building, actually, currently unoccupied, but Moist are looking at it from above. Once again, there's a building free near Moist. They're not taking that. They're taking the high ground position.
Yeah, maybe they feel like that gives them a little bit more flexibility. You know, it's a little bit easier to get out of a rough position. It's on the high ground rather than in the building. You don't have to go through some choke points, through some doors and such. And DY White have other ideas as they look to lock down this building.
That's Golden Sage on the inside of that.
Yeah, they're going to have to fight for it, that's for sure. Can you make the argument that MDY have won the fight already? I mean, they've taken control of the building. Golden Sage now on the outside and starting to lose members here and there. Feiju already down. There's a good crack on the Feiju, but you see they have the alternator piling up, so it's only going to last for so long. And MDY White in a massively advantageous position right now in this engagement are going to go ahead and to finish this on a 1-on-3. Jipe down. Means that there is just one remaining member of Golden Sage. Looks like there are some third-party shots coming through though from Jaru, which is going to send them back inside.
Oh man, Mobius is even trying to deal with spiders on the outside there. Will they hear the res going off here? No, they're actually just going to trade 1-for-1. Down to a 2 versus 3 now. But as you said, good riddance are coming in, and that's good for MDY, who are inside the building. Probably not so great for Golden Sage.
Jaro...
They actually get out. Wow.
Yeah, he's actually not interested in really sticking around for too long. He gets taken down very low HP as well. So Golden Sage get out of there. Good riddance also kind of get out of there, although Wei is still in a bit of an awkward spot here. He can't really run away, otherwise he's open to the building. The shots from the building. This is just such a rough cross for Wei. But he's getting the backup from Jaro with that long bow. And good shots being put through. Is eventually, I think, going to get Wei out to safety, although it was a bit of a heart-pumping moment for a second there.
Yeah, well, it was Stinky B as well that were opening up on the crossfire. They're sitting on the gravity cannon and causing even more problems for Good Riddance, who thought they had the third party, but really, it was the fourth party, and you never want to be... you want to be the last team joining that. You don't want to be the cool kids coming in late, right? If you're there a little bit too early, that's when the problems start to happen. So this is all happening in the sort of this southern quadrant outside Barometer, as you can see there. But the action is going to continue moving towards that IMC, where Dewa have got it locked down.
Well, looking across the rest of the map, doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of action going on elsewhere either. A lot of teams have already made their rotation. Teams that have yet to are still quite far out on the outskirts of the zone. So unlikely to be running into too much at this point. 505. Basically in the center of the map right now. Pretty happy with the position that they've got themselves, if they can hold on to it. There's going to be the imperative talking point.
I mean, we just had a little bit of a hermit crab situation there. So GQ have actually moved out from that building. That's why that was open to 505. And GQ have moved into the big market building that we were talking about, as you can see there. The fences on the high ground belonging, of course, to Moist.
I think 505 will be pretty happy with that trade, but we will take a look at Team Op once again, who seem to continue to get themselves into engagements. They really do love to do that. This time... it is against Emmanuel, who are also down a member. The Team Up should be able to get the res, whereas Emmanuel will unlikely be able to do so.
Oh, they're going for it, though.
Yeah.
Asia trying to get back up. No, maybe too many grenades coming out. They're not sure. Chambers is trying to watch from the side, and he's now getting inside the building. Just trying to hold out for his reviving teammate. The Crypto may have gone too far there in the 1v1.
Yeah, I think so. A-Flow is the last one actually here for Emmanuel, and I really feel like they were caught in two minds as to whether or not to go for that res. I feel like Chambers, he didn't want to go for it. He wasn't interested. He was already starting to make his rotate away from that orange, but got called back by his teammates, and obviously it hasn't worked out very well for them. As you can see, Emmanuel go down.
Yeah, they win the 3v3, but unfortunately there's only one of them left, and it's Good Riddance and then Stinky B who come in on both sides, looking to be the vultures to pick up those extra kills. So they'll only grab the one, and that goes the way of Kungshun. Good Riddance currently sitting on 2 themselves. They actually managed to sit inside the orange and grab some of the loot for that one. So benefactors of the fight. Stinky B, as you can see though, they've got that information from their seer. They are watching very closely to see how they try and make their way out. Of course, they're not inside the circle. They've got 15 seconds left to loot up and make their next move.
Yupe from Golden Sage is alone, and he'll be quite worried about what's going on around him. He is the seer, so he's going to be aware of MDY quite close by. But I'm not sure that there's going to be too much he's going to do about it if they do head in his direction. Chicken Sandwich just to check in with them. They're still looking pretty comfortable, but going to have to make a fairly hefty rotation as well. You can see that zone is really just dropping right on top of GQ. Northside Esports and 505. That, I guess that Bermuda Triangle of building is inside of the zone is going to be the big 3.
Yep, solid gold if you are in those buildings right now. 505, GQ, very, very happy about this. Dewa will be pretty happy. You know, they don't have far to go. They can probably, you know, they do have the Watson available, so it won't be a huge stretch for them to pull out of that IMC. You know, there's a couple of, like, shipping crates and that sort of stuff on that island around there that they should be able to pull out into and hopefully fortify with the pylons and the fences. Northside also looking okay. Everyone else here, though, are probably going to struggle, right? And Moist on the hill, I'd say they're going to be in a decent position to rotate down from there. Truth Esports, they're well on the outside right now. They do have the Skyward Dive, though, so they are going to pull that immediately, just as we note it. And on the exact opposite side of the circle, on the southern edge, of course, you've got Stinky B. By the way, Good Riddance have still not made it out of the zone. They are still being held by Stinky B.
Yeah, Good Riddance have had a really rough couple of games playing the edge, and teams are just sort of hounding them. Obviously, last game it was Team Op. This time you talk about it, Stinky B. Just don't really see the angle here for Good Riddance to take this fight. I think this is for sure going to have to be a Skyward Dive out. Obviously healthy enough to sort of stick inside this zone for the moment, but maybe not for too much longer. Truth Esports have made their rotation. They've still not quite made it to the next zone. They're going to have to go past MDY, as we can see here, who are kind of holed up around that cannon. And that where that cannon starts is pretty much where the zone starts. So that's pretty much the bare minimum Truth Esports to get into. A couple of shots actually coming through from Nitsuru's Dharma. Does have that Sentinel back in hand, as we know he is well accustomed to. Still more work to be done, even despite a couple of good shots.
We have the golden extended mag in his hand. It's exactly in his comfortable spot. So they're going to start pushing in here now. Round closing in 30 seconds. They know that is pretty much the timer on them to get through this. That said, they've got Dud on the other side with a bow check, just throwing out those arrows left and right, peppering them, keeping them back for now. But there's a clock on them. Elfish Exo Clan are behind them, and they need to make this happen before it's too late. It might already be gone.
Yeah, Nitsuru's Dharma, he's a good player, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to dig them out of this. And he will go down pretty quick. Smart. Truth Esports eliminated. That is only one step of the way, though, that EXO needs to be going. Killerpod's down. Ziki now as well following suit. And
wow,
EXO also drops. So MDY took up a huge chunk of points off of that.
Yeah, dud there from MDY. So good there. Just he laid the bow shots into them, and you know, EXO went from, oh yeah, we've won a fight to we are wiped off the map completely. It was a very quick turnaround for them. SRY just a little bit more south of the position we were just in, and they're trying to deal with Stinky B now. After it looks like they've managed to finish off Good Riddance.
Oh, that next zone shift is going to be hot on the heels as well of these edge teams 1 minute before that starts to move, which means teams like Stinky B, who have been holding this bridge right on the bottom of your screens, are going to have to start thinking about what their rotation is going to end up looking like. MDY as well. They've been quite static around that cannon. Also going to have to move. As you mentioned, SRY, they're also still, not quite inside of the zone. So that rocky outcrop that they're holding is not quite safe, although it's still going to be a problem for the teams rotating in behind them. MDY, Stinky B, going to go past SRY. Time before the storm, 30 seconds. And I think that's when it's really going to start to kick off. Is this another team that's going to have to move?
I mean, look, MDY haven't committed as much as, say, Team Op have. They do have the Valkyrie, so there are potentially options for them. But are there options within the zone for them to land as a Valkyrie?
No,
like, honestly,
really.
in this next one, not many, man. Not many at all. You can see there's that little compound that's sort of a couple of fences and stuff near the respawn beacon. Chicken Sandwich are playing there, and as you can see, 2 of them go down to a Kraber in a matter of seconds. That was GQ just peering out from in the windows there. They've got sightlines on them, and now Dugu player above them as well. Do they have the game? The game knowledge, the presence to realize that this has happened, the game sense to get down there? No, apparently they don't push the issue.
Yep.
How did Chicken Sandwich survive that? They were down to 1 player.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think it's also a little bit where teams probably don't even want that location. I'm not sure that's the best location in this zone. Boogie Borders, who was one of the first rotators, have actually landed on top of that market building. And once the zone does pull in, once the high ground is disappearing, then I think that's actually going to be quite a good spot. Northside Esports, they've got their own problems with Stinky B now having landed nearby. So it really is starting to kick off all over the place. You can even see, actually, if you're watching, quite tightly, Chicken Sandwich have moved out of the respawn area, and they've started to come and join this fight here with Northside as well. So this is actually them trying to make their way across. And look, I think they were out of the frying pan into the fire, so to speak, because now they've got another 2 teams to work with and deal with, and they'll take the bottom floor. They'll sort of take the crawl space of this building, and that's what they're going to have to be happy with, because they cannot go up the 2nd floor. They cannot go on the roof. There's 3 teams occupying this building.
Yeah, Chicken Sandwich, understandably, after taking a couple of big shots there from the Krabers, have to switch positions. They know there's too many angles on them, especially with everyone piling into less and less space. Dewa are actually trying to lock all of those 3 teams out, by the way. They've moved up from their southern position in the IMC, and as you can see there, Easy Flash is trying to set up some fences so that if any of those teams have to rotate south, they're locked off from there as well. So they were carving out a massive piece for themselves. They kind of need to do that because, as you can see, there's not a lot of cover. If they're not there just below in that river where they've got sort of blocked off by the jetty, blocked off by the edge of that building, they don't really have anything to play for. So I really like the proactive thinking here from Easy Flash.
I think this is a super difficult zone to play if you're not in one of these buildings, and very shortly the setup that SRY is looking at, 505, is going to be moved away from the zone as well. We do still have Moist Esports, what remains of them, up towards the real ultimate high ground, but they're going to have to now start coming off of that as well. So SRY also on the move, to make their way in underneath this building, but they've got further to go. Northside Esports, they will probably still just be able to play the corner of this building. If they don't want to move, I don't think they'll have to move. SRY, on the other hand, they're contesting for the market building, and that is, it's not happy times at all. Yanli's down quickly after Yase, and it's just Galkabar who is left up, but Ringit is back, has to move, it's taken down. SRY eliminated. There goes Moist Esports as well. They had to come off of the high ground, and they were only a duo. So Boogie Borders, like I said, taking the high ground on top of that market. I think that was probably the best position they could have gotten with that late rotation, and it seems to be paying off.
It was a nice spot they picked up, and you can see here, you're not even safe inside. There's a lot of cracks inside this building. there is a way you can jump up there. So it's, you know, you don't have to be a Valk or a Pathfinder. You can actually use that little bit of roof that we're looking at right now to climb up, but certainly not when there's a 3 stack right on top of you looking down as you try and do it. So they've got to be they've got to be careful. They're going to be taking poke from on top of the roof. Unfortunately, it's not a completely enclosed building, and with 7 squads left now, you know, Dewa looking pretty good on the south. Dugu play have actually carved out a big spot on the north side here. So, you know, maybe this spot wasn't premium real estate before, but now some of those angles are closed off. As you can see, it's actually looking pretty good. So just teams crammed in on the left and right, and then Dewa and Dugu with, you know, a football field each to play with.
It is, but what I kind of like about this zone is that once it starts shrinking and getting smaller, which obviously, as you can see, it is doing, I don't know that it necessarily favors one team over the other. Like, there's not that much cover in the center of the zone. There's certainly no easy rotate for any of the teams coming on in, so it's really going to be difficult to tell who's going to walk away with a victory from this position. Maybe Dewa United is the best set up for it, and they are ripping Northside Esports to shreds. Onyx Esports goes down in the meanwhile as well. 6th and 5th position respectively. Alco's Boogie Borders in 4th. Dewa United are really just picking up a bunch of these kills. Dugu play haven't really had to move just yet though, so they're feeling pretty healthy still. And as ever, Chicken Sandwich are still making themselves known. They're down a member. Strafing Flame is crawling, but they are still alive as a duo at the very least, and they're trying to cause some problems. From here though, definitely looks like Dewa United might be the pick of the bunch. They've got the center of the zone. They're starting to try and put that damage back down onto their opponents as well. Cross coming across with that car. Nothing really connecting onto players. It's all just alternator pylons and shields and things like that, but the push comes through from Dewa United, and they will walk away with the victory. It looked tough from their position 5 minutes ago, but once everyone started to have coming out of those buildings, I mean, that's where things really shaped up for them in Dewa United. They played it perfect.